Akhmeteli თქვენ მოგზაურობთ 21 საუკუნის ყველაზე ექსტრაორდინარულ ქართულ და არამარტო ქართულ ზოგადად საქართველოს
Irakli Kakabadze is a writer, performing artist, and human rights activist. He was raised in a literary family. His father and uncle were both renowned writers in the Republic of Georgia. Since his early youth, Irakli was an anti-Soviet dissident and actively was involved in the national liberation movement of Georgia. He has published more than 500 short stories, essays, and books in Georgian and English languages. His plays have been staged in theaters in Georgia and the United States. His experience living in America is very interesting. I had the pleasure to visit with him in his apartment in the Republic of Georgia and record the interview where his thoughts and demeanor show his true artistic nature and his relationship with God in everyday life. Irakli, 1990, you immigrated to America. Mm-hmm. What was your motivation? Why you chose America to be your home?
Well, it's very easy to answer on this question because it was rather speaking about motivation. It was a matter of survival, physical survival. What I need to tell you is that it was not a matter of motivation and stuff like that. All this bullshit that they talk, oh, my own motivation, my dream, and all this fake talk. No, it was a matter of physical survival. It was a matter of life and death. In 1990, there was a big crisis, health crisis, and economic crisis. People were dying. I had a very severe diabetes, and thanks to God bless him, the first president of Georgia, a great guy, it's Vietnam Sahuri, who helped me out with a little bit of financial help to go to the United States and treat myself and to survive physically. Actually, I really survived physically because I really needed the good insulin and good treatment on diabetes, and I got it.
Right, and so, was not any good medication here, right medication for you to...
It was almost none, and it was really bad without any kind of... So lots of people have died who were diabetics, and not just diabetics, but other people who have died during 1990 and 95 when the crisis years were, when the Soviet Union was destroyed. Lots of people suffered from this barbaric situation that happened as a result of the so-called happy end of the Cold War. And we don't know their names. I mean, they're buried somewhere in the mass graves, as they say. But lots of people have died because there was no healthcare facilities and there was no healthcare in this country, as well as in many other countries.
Right, and America helped you to give you this
America gave me life. I mean, I just came there and
treatment.
I got the Humalog and I got the insulin and the American medical system. At that time, I am very thankful to America and my second country, and it really saved my life. And I'm thankful to Bob Dylan, Aretha Franklin, and Leonard Peltier, and great Americans who have preserved the life of millions of people.
Wonderful. And you had aunt there, and you lived there for a while, and you start working, and later you start working, you get work permit, and finally you became a citizen of United States.
They started this neoliberal revolutions here and all this kind of stuff in 1991, 92. They killed lots of people. So I applied for political asylum, and I was very happy to get it, and lots of my friends got it, and so I started to work in America as a salesperson, shopkeeper, and shoe shiner. And at the same time, it was really great to work in New York as a shoe shiner, to experience how the real working class is living. And then I started to work in the Voice of America. Then I started to work in State Department, and it's really great. It was really great experiences, amazing experiences.
And what did you do in the State
I was
Department? Teaching
Georgian language and culture at the FSI and Washington, D.C., the Rome of today, the biggest empire that has conquered the world, is dominating the absolute majority of the world's society. And it's really amazing. It's a lot of freedom of speech in America. And Bob Dylan and Noam Chomsky, the genius of American spirit, talks about this all the time. The spirit of America is a free speech. You can talk like a Frank Zappa, which is amazing. America is a country of Frank Zappa. and lots of great dissidents of the neoliberalism who really oppose the liberal dictatorship of the world and who can succeed with getting their world free from that. And I love the when I came to America, it was a time of the riot girls, and it was a time of Nirvana and Olympia, Seattle and Washington, D.C. was revolting with the words of Fugazi, Ian McKay, Ian Svenonius, these great geniuses of America who have brought freedom to millions of people. And America is the still shining light with its punk rock community and rock community and all these great artistic
That's why that
spirits.
country is great.
And Charlie Chaplin.
Right.
I mean, even though it had these reactionary people like I knew Jesse Helms actually. One of the first people who I met in America was Jesse Helms, reactionary, almost a Nazi guy. But some people loved him because he endorsed Georgian independence and all this kind of stuff. But you need to see those guys. I mean, of course, you need to see the different type of guys to experience. But America has a great experience of freedom.
And land of success.
Yeah.
So,
and of course, the success
What
describes the most successful person for me in America, in the world, was Arthur Miller, the great writer, who was a husband of Marilyn Monroe, but he was a genius who wrote The Death of Salesmen, a great work, by which he says that that idea of the dream, bourgeois dream, is a fake dream. When B. Floman says, "Father, I see your dream is a fake dream. This is not a real." I will go to the village and work as an ordinary village man. And it comes from old empires that becoming rich makes you free. No, of course, Arthur Miller has showed us, together with Tennessee Williams and great American writers, William Faulkner and all these other great people representing the spirit of America. Louis Armstrong, who grew up where? He grew up in a brothel in New Orleans, the great American guy, the real America, Louis Armstrong, Afro-American, great man who believed in Christ. And what Jesus Christ says, the rich man cannot get to the heaven. The camel will rather get into the small needle, rather the rich man will get into the heaven.
True.
And these Afro-American churches, amazing places. I've experienced really incredible experiences with Afro-American churches, with the white churches, where all these great people live and work hard, and they are in brotherhood and in solidarity with each other. And that makes America a great country, a free country of wonderful,
unique country,
wonderful people.
in spite of your work, and you still chose to live in Georgia. You came back.
Yes.
So why? You had a nostalgia toward your country, or what was the reason you came back and you just started living here?
Well, actually, Georgia is going through the very interesting period in its lifestyle. Back to the basic of the real Christianity, yes? We need to get back to the basics of the real Christianity, where we need to take care of each other, we need to love each other, we need to be with each other, we need to think not about success, but about solidarity and love and compassion and humanity. And Georgia is plagued right now with the bourgeois mentality. And the bourgeois mentality is anti-Christian mentality, which is really ruining all of the system, the traditional system that we had. And we had a very, very strong system. Even before Christianity, we had lots of Christianity during Medea's time, during the matriarchy of Georgia, and during the time which was pre-Hellenic Georgia, yes, which was the 3rd millennium and 2nd millennium of Georgia. And the great lecture of the Georgian president, the spiritual mission of Georgia, describes that mission of Georgia as an egalitarian society, real society without domination and subordination, and also phallogocentric culture.
I'd like to say that Irakli is a very successful playwright. And you do your performances in a theater here, one of the state theaters, and I can see where you act. So theater right in you, art is right in you. So without that, impossible to live for your kind person survive. So what makes you be survival in this difficult time? So what makes you keep going? Art? Is this art?
Art is
this
creativity. Actually, is really very important
Right.
part of the.
because let's admit it's a
nature.
very difficult times now worldwide. So,
Like Mr. Chomsky says, the creative
Right.
development makes people so amazing that they can create new and new, like a little child creates a new word. We need to change the words. We need to change the semiotics. We need to change how do we address each other to challenge this system of monstrosity and domination and subordination and killing and murder by which the big companies like Almaz Ray and Putin's companies and Lockheed Martin and all these other arms corporations right now make money on killing and slaughtering all the Ukrainian citizens, which is the biggest tragedy in the world right now. And there are some big corporations who are making huge money, billions and billions and trillions of dollars. And right now we need to find a creative solution to this crisis. And Christopher Mitchell has the answer. He's in America. And we are here. And people are in China, in India, in Africa, in Australia, around the world. And Spirit of Jesus Christ tells us, do not kill. And this is the solution.
Do you think that's a true Christianity is experiencing right now in the world? It's
no,
not.
I mean,
what's going on between Russia and Ukraine
this is
now?
not true Christianity, of course.
Is
This is really
what do you call that?
Horrible stuff. Is what we are witnessing is a murderous regime of Mr. Putin. So what we need to have to return to really true Christianity is to return to the real true Christian message, which is you win over violence with non-violence. And Mahatma Gandhi was a great person who represented Christian spirit in the 20th century, together with many others. And actually what we need to do, we need to defeat this violence, overcome, we shall overcome, as Martin Luther King Jr. said, and lots of people said in the 1960s, we shall overcome violence with non-violence, love and compassion, and strong disobedience to the violent structures, everywhere and in every case. And there are concrete ways how to do it. The creativity enables us to do it, and we need to return art to humanity. We need to return spirituality to humanity. And the real spirituality is creative spirituality, creative development. People can expand the pie, so there is no scarcity of pie, and people can live and coexist. And even more than that, have a cultural embrace as opposed to culture of tolerance. Tolerance is not enough, and we can see that today. Tolerance is not working. What is working is embrace. And embrace is true love through the Christianity. Right. Christ's message is love, is not tolerance. You cannot tolerate something.
You cannot live longer with tolerance.
We shall love earth, we shall love nature, we shall love each other, human beings, and we shall love the transcendental beginning, which is endless, anywhere. This is ontological stuff, and that is God. God is creation, creativity, and God is love. And both of them are forgotten in today's materialistic world, and that's what we are heading to, the nuclear catastrophe, and God forbid that happens. The only thing that will save us from that is creativity and love, which is a manifestation of God.
Do you think there is any safe place in the world today?
The only safe place, which is true essence of God, is creativity and love. And once we are within the love, within the Lord's way of creative love, we are safe. Here or there in the other world, because all of us are going to die, we know that. But there is no physical safety, and there have never been a physical safety. We should never think of physical safety, because if we are spiritually safe, then it's better physically and spiritually as well.
Do you believe in your guardian angel?
I believe in Jesus. Jesus was there when I was stabbed, when I was 15 years old. I was stabbed, and Jesus came by and he said, never, ever, never, ever use violence, never, ever use a knife, never, ever hold the arm, because arm is the evil. It was invented for killing the person, and before it was invented, we had a good earth. He told me that in a vision. And since then, I never ever held an arm, a weapon, which is the biggest evil of the world. It was a small knife that I held during the time when I was stabbed, and I was punished for that. The same day I was stabbed, I almost died. I got my diabetes, I got all of that. And Jesus came in and he said, in my dream, he said, never ever hold a weapon. This is evil, which came during the Bronze Age. He even described it when it came. He came with Zeus in Bronze Age. Zeus is the master of the evil who brought the war to humanity. Once we do not abolish this, once Prometheus is not going to come back from Kutaisi, from Huamli, humanity is not going to get liberated from that evil which is a war, which is violence, murder, and killing. And I never had even a knife in my hands after that. And
That's amazing.
I can tell you 40 years passed since then.
That's wonderful.
You know, there is no better guardian angel than Jesus telling you to directly.
You've been
during
such
the
a
dream.
smart pupil for Jesus, because you learned instantly what he told you.
It was a very painful experience also, because I almost died during that time, and he came and rescued my life, and he said, don't hold this, because this is going to kill you, but not just you, but it's going to kill all humanity.
Do you think that ever you will go back to United States to live there again?
Yeah, I'm sure I will go back and forth. Of course, I will go back. I love being in the United States. I have lots of wonderful friends, amazing people. It's a great country. It's absolutely amazing country with lots of compassionate, amazing people.
Yeah.
And of course, I really respect lots of my colleagues. I used to work for Cornell University. I was teaching there. Amazing people there in Ithaca, New York. I've spent several years in New York City, and I worked in different places, which gave me a lot of strength in this life. As a shoeshiner, or as a shopkeeper, basically, and as a salesperson, etc., etc. It was really very, very good. And also, I lived in Washington D.C., which also I had wonderful friends there, amazing people, very compassionate, amazing people, even some politicians. So I mean, I have lots of great memories, and not memories, but ongoing contact with friends in the United States. And I'm sure I'm going to be back and forth. And if the humanity has to physically survive, I mean, I hope that that's going to happen. But even if not, we're going to meet in the other world. Mm-hmm. I strongly believe in that.
I don't think that will happen. So,
No.
I still believe that there are smart people around who will prevent this from happening. So,
God bless them.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. We still hope that they're going to find some peaceful solution to the situation, and the tragedy in Ukraine is going to end. The tragedy in Ukraine needs to end as soon as it's possible. And this is our obligation of whole humanity, to ensure that there's not going to be killings and wars, and we need to change our lifestyle. We need to change whole world order to stop the violence, But this is unimaginable, horrible, and we need to understand we do not have a future as humanity if we continue acting like this. And I'm saying it's we because Putin right now represents the evil of humanity, which is in all of us somewhere there. The desire to dominate, the subordination and violence and war and negligence and all of those things that bring humans down to their knees. We all have them. It's not just one person. And we need to realize with that, we cannot continue living like that. Sure. It's already 2022 years since the birth of Lord Jesus Christ. And before that, we had a long history, yes? And at least 5,000 years of violence. We need to end this.
Do you think that breaking bread between each other is a powerful tool to end the conflict?
Jesus Christ has demonstrated how wonderful it is to break bread and feed 5,000 people with just few loaves of bread. Yes, I mean, he demonstrated to us that breaking bread and sharing the food and goodies of the world, this is the way of salvation. Sharing and sharing. This is the way of salvation. Not being egotistic bourgeois mindset, but sharing in a real Christian way is the thing that is going to save the world. And Jesus Christ made it very obvious, and that's how we live. That's how we survive. That feeds our spirituality and that feeds our art. How can we share? Most capable people who are able to share are able to go on with their spiritual life longer and longer into eternity. And people who are not able to share, they are not going to be able to survive. Unfortunately, that's the end finale. If we're not going to learn sharing, all these 1 billion persons starving, 5 billion persons living in horrible conditions materially, having the great scarcity of food and medical supplies, we are not able to break the bread with those people unless we are with the poor. We are going to die spiritually. And if we're going to die spiritually, we're never going to see Lord Jesus Christ.
How do you find to live in Georgia? Is it a good place to live? What do you recommend other Americans, for example, for travel here or live here, or is it just for share and giving?
Georgia is a Dionysian country. Dionysian, Bacchian women and all these matriarchal structures that were here before 1352 BC was a really incredible social structure that was really different and very, very amazing. And if we recall the Minoan civilization that was absolutely nonviolent from the year 2000, approximately, I'm talking about approximate years, from the year 2000 to the year 1500, was based upon Proto-Iberian tribes like Horitians and others, and it's not just Georgians, of course, it was lots of different tribes living there. But that civilization demonstrated that human civilization can be built without domination, subordination, and violence. It was a Cretan civilization, but what we see here, the gold was produced here, but it was not the symbol of domination. And that's the whole point, is that the wealth is not a symbol of domination. If there is wealth for everyone, it's divided and shared like Jesus did it. And Jesus was a continuation of this Promethean culture. Jesus was a continuation of this Bacchian culture and Dionysian culture. And that is an amazing world. And we, of course, have the Promethean place in Kutaisi, which everyone is able to see, and Huamli and all that. So it's an interesting place. It's, I think the whole world is interesting, of course. And here, in terms of the Bacchian women, in terms of all these women, Kirke, who was Medea's aunt, amazing woman from Odysseus. Yeah, all of these people were, and Amazons were Georgians and Prometheus. All these people were connected somehow. Yes,
Right.
I mean, this all the
And do
pre-Hellenic
you
people.
think that Georgia today is an interesting place for Americans or for any other foreigners?
Well, I think, of course, any place is interesting for anyone because there are all these differences around the world.
And what is unique here? Why?
Dionysian spirit of Bacchian women, liberated Bacchian women, egalitarian structure, and non-sexist, non-patriarchal structure that were there, that women were ruling Georgia until 1342 BC.
Well,
it was really
our
amazing.
the queen of the Georgia, Tamar.
Yeah, Queen
she
Tamara,
was-
and long
yeah.
before Queen Tamara, Kirke was really a great example of that. Yeah, and our friend American, amazing, my colleague Julie Christensen, she's amazing, and we have a show together and all this stuff. She has a cat, and she called it Kirke because this is a Kirke's land, and we'll go to Kutaisi and we tell the people this is the Kirke's land, and you need to come and see how Kirke lived in a non-patriarchal society, which was a different historical development, which was a totally horizontal social structure. And lots of feminist authors talk about this.
Right, that's what the world needs right now.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Non-violent
True.
civilization. As our dear friend Rajagopal PV from India said.
That's a new way to look over the piece. So,
Yes.
new way. So maybe it's just worth to
Absolutely.
try. Georgia will be a good example.
Yeah, the Georgian
Right.
Bacchian women and Dionysian culture was one of the ways of doing this. Of course, the Mayan culture has that, the Oceanic culture has that, the Africans, the oldest civilization of the world, of course, they are older than anyone, and most civilized people come from Africa. But then, of course, all of us, the barbarians, so-called the white people and the yellow people and all the others, we can also learn from our traditions that were there before the patriarchal power of Zeus and Greek, Hellenic, imperialistic, violent culture came in. And before that, there was this Dionysian great spirit that was Thracian, maybe, and maybe from some other places, but really amazing, incredible.
I had a great pleasure to have this half an hour with you, spent with you, and you're always so interesting personality for me. I grow up today. So
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I learned new things today.
We all grow up every day, so thank you very much for coming here.